Hello friends, today we are at the Southern Park, Hillhead. We gather here today to say goodbye to our friend David Cummings, to celebrate his life and just say goodbye to our friend who was kiting with us and unfortunately passed away in age of 85. So David, he embodied this sport for a lot of people. I think with us here, he was the spirit that we all wanted to kind of follow, the way that he loved this sport but loved the kind of freedom that it gave him. And as a whole, we personally, I had a lot of banter with him over a long time, as everyone did, with the way that he was always joking around and pushing people to really get further involved in the sport and enjoy the sport all together. But at the end of the day, I think he summarises the community that we had and the lifestyle we all want to lead. And if any of us are lucky enough to get to where Dave was at his wonderful age, I think we'll all be very fortunate and very lucky. And like I said, I think we all hope the same, that we could be doing what he did.
Davey was a local legend. He's always a smiley face down the beach, happy to chat to anyone, and will be sorely missed and always remembered.
Dave was a fantastic bloke, always down, always smiles. Really enjoyed his company every time I was down here. He's going to be sorely missed. Great character for the area.
Dave for me was a really inspirational character. Every day I come down the beach, he was down here, always the first to pick my kite up as well, to launch it, so full respect for that.
Dave for me, he's just made me realise, you know, as I get older, I need to keep moving, keep going as long as you can. I was saying to Ian just a moment ago that, you know, my grand's a similar age to him and she is nowhere near as active as Dave was. You know, true inspiration to keeping active when you get older, whether it's kiting, windsurfing, skiing, cycling, and he was part of the furniture down here.
So David, I think for me and like for everybody else in the community, was a legend. You know, it gives hope to everyone. Thinking, you know, you always think at a certain age you're going to have to stop doing what you like to do, and he just kept on going. So I think it's an inspiration for us just to continue going until the body says no. So yeah, he was a great guy.
I mean, David was a legend from the moment I got down here. I mean, I've been down here 15 years now, and he's just always been here. He's a legend, absolute legend. He's sorely missed. The place isn't the same without him. Yeah, what can you say? Yeah, he's a legend.
Oh, well, we'll miss him. We saw him down there. We've known him so many years, and at one point when Jessie was learning, she was the young 12 or something. 12, and she was the youngest and Dave was the oldest kite surfer. So we missed our chats on the wall.
David was probably the most positive person on the spot and in the community. Inspirational as well. He was a very good friend of everyone. He has always had the time to chat about kite surfing and generally about the life, and he was like a proper role model for the local community, but not only that, no, for the community in the UK. So he will be truly missed across the whole country and all the spots.
Thank you for turning up. Yeah, much appreciated. Thank you. How are you doing, Stephen? On the other side. Well, just wait for everyone who's followed in the cars first, guys. Let them park up, and then we'll go down to the beach and then go from there.
David's in there. Right. Thanks everybody for coming on this, you know, odd occasion. You know, we all thought Davey would last forever. Now, Davey's written these words himself, but first of all, I got a little message from Zoe, Bernie and Bo from New Zealand, who sadly couldn't be here.
Leon, sorry, can you shout?
Right. Okay. First, I'd like to send commiseration to David's family and friends. Our thoughts are with you all. We're very sorry we could not be here to pay tribute to David in person. We remember his trips to New Zealand very well, and we'll have remembrance ourselves for him today in Rangiputa, one of the beaches where he kite surfed with us out here. David, as we all know, was a legend. World famous kite surfer and record breaking talker. He would often come round to our house in Titchfield for a cuppa. As soon as we saw that he was coming with his yellow vest up the driveway on his bike, we knew we could kiss goodbye to the next hour or so. The best story I have about David, among many, is when I was teaching a lovely young lady to kite surf. She had just got into a wetsuit and David came over. He asked her to lift her arms up and do a twirl so he could inspect her. He said he was the official wetsuit technician for our kite surfing school and had to check the fit properly. She duly did as she was told. After that, he was forever known as a wetsuit technician and took his job very seriously, depending on, of course, on whether the student happened to be a lovely young lady. That just sums up Davy boy. He never stopped having a laugh and enjoying life to the full. Hillhead will feel a very strange place to come home to in May without David being there. He became part of the fabric of the place and we will miss him very much, but we will certainly never forget him. At least we'll have a bit more time on our hands when I stop for a cuppa. Love from Bernie, Zoe and Bo. Right, so David, as we know, was always prepared, so the words now are from Davy. You'll notice it's double-sided and 5 pages long, just like his stories down the beach, but please bear with me. Okay, Dave would like to start with a poem. Think of me as one at rest. For me you should not weep. I have no pain, no troubled thoughts, for I am just asleep. The living thinking me that was is now forever still, and life goes on without me now, as time forever will. If your heart is heavy now, because I've gone away, dwell not upon it, friend, for none of us can stay. Those of you who liked me, I sincerely thank you all, and those of you who loved me, I thank you most of all. And in my fleeting lifespan, as time went rushing by, I found some time to hesitate, to laugh, to love, to cry. Matters it not now if time began, if time will ever cease. I was here, I used it all, and now I am at peace. I was born on the 2nd of the 11th, 1937. The 8th and youngest child. I had 1 brother and 6 sisters and lived in a suburb of Liverpool called Knotty Ash. The most famous person, as we all know, was Ken Dodd, who lived all his life just 1 road up in Brook Lane. I can remember the war years and a few years after vividly. As children, we didn't understand what was going on. Our playgrounds were bombed out houses just up the road, a kid's paradise to play in. We were all given Mickey Mouse gas masks to wear during air raids and spent many a night in our Anderson air raid shelter in the back garden. At school, I played football for the school team, position inside left. We had no football boots, just played in the one and only pair of shoes with lace-up leather football, with a rubber bladder inside it. At 13, I gained a bronze medal and bar for life-saving and received a free pass to the local swimming pool. For the 2 years as my reward, I learned to swim in the, I had learned to swim in the local farmer's pond in the field behind our house. During school holidays and each weekend, I worked on a local farm, milking cows, bottling the milk by hand and operating the machinery. I then delivered it by horse, drawn carts. My sister Jean, 2 years older than me, who I adored all my life, worked on another farm doing the same work as me. I also went through a period of delivering bread, again by horse-drawn carts. My reward was a loaf of bread and a couple of cakes and buns. Although these early years of my life were hard compared to today's standards, it was just the way it was for everyone. By the time I was about 11 years old, I started delivering newspapers from the local street shop and continued being a paper boy for 3 years. I used to deliver the papers to a very active and famous Labour MP, Mrs. Bessie Braddock, who lived at number 2 Zigzag Road. My last year of senior school, we did woodwork on Friday mornings and folk dancing in the afternoons. My woodwork teacher, Mr. James, was the first man to leave a lasting impression on me. He was such a nice man and a very good teacher. In the afternoons, we did folk dancing, boys only. We were not looking forward to this at all. But after the first session, we were hooked. To say it was hilarious is an understatement. At 14, I found a job on a farm that grew lettuce, cabbages, cauliflowers and celery. The farmer and his family were such lovely people. He was such a clever man, did all his own maintenance on his farm machinery. Another man who inspired me. My father changed jobs, and my parents and 3 unmarried children moved from Liverpool to St Budo in Plymouth. Living in Plymouth was like switching a light on. We went from darkness to full sunshine. Our lives transformed in all respects. Thank you, Mum and Dad. I got a job in a ladies' clothes factory. Doesn't that just say it all? It was called Burkatex, and I suppose some of us might be old enough to remember the brand. It's not around anymore. Those are my words. He worked there for 8 months before starting his apprenticeship as a fitter and turner in the dockyard. I really loved my time as an apprentice, such an experience. My first 18 months of my apprenticeships was spent metal fitting. My instructor was an exceptional man called Les Gray. He was another man who greatly influenced my life. At the same time, I joined the Plymouth Sea Cadets, another epic time in my life. I spent 3 years there, learning seamanship, sailing, Morse code, and played tenor drummer in the marching band. I played football and boxed for the unit. The cadets were just like the dockyard. Whatever you wanted to do, every door open to you. The best thing was everything we did was totally free. Such good times. Why young men don't get involved in such things beats me. What a 5-year period of my life. I started learning to play guitar when I was about 17 years old, taught by Arthur Thomas. He had returned to Plymouth to retire after spending 30 years playing in various London-based bands. He was a pure genius and could play every instrument in a dance band. I joined a skiffle group called the Electrodes. It is a 4-piece group, a bass, a tea chest, broom handle and a string, drums, bass guitar and Davy Boy on electric rhythm guitar. Our claim to fame, just wait for the skirver. Our claim to fame was playing as part of a concert party entertaining about 400 inmates in Dartmoor prison. On one cold winter Sunday afternoon in 1957, I met 2 killers backstage who were helping with props, etc. One was an ex-pilot who killed and chopped up the body and dropped it over Rodney Marshes in Kent. The other man had been in prison since 1914 for killing his wife, though he found her in bed with another man. He was due to be released in 3 weeks. In those days, you were given back the same clothes you arrived in. He entered prison wearing spats. He thought it was very funny. At the age of 18, I met a girl, as boys do. We got married at 21. A few months later, I went to sea with the Blue Star Line as a junior engineer and spent 2 years in the Merchant Navy, sailing all around the world, visiting Australia, New Zealand, Africa, Europe, sailed through Suez and Panama. Quite an amazing time. What I couldn't understand was that they paid me for it. I would have gone for free, it was that good. The best sight in this wonderful world for me was leaving Cape Town at midnight. Looking back, seeing tabletop mountains silhouetted against the clear night sky, with millions of lights around the base of the mountain, which was Cape Town. A poet wrote a poem about this amazing sight, saying it was like a sparkling necklace around Mother Nature's throat. For those of you who have never witnessed this sight, please treat yourself to a once-in-a-lifetime experience and go and see. God. Well, did you add some? No. I say, this is Davy's words. And, yeah, talking the hind legs off a donkey, my throat's going to be a bit dry after this. I get goose pimples every time I tell people a story about Cape Town. Being married I came ashore and continued my career in Devonport and went back to Plymouth Tech College to gain my HND in marine engineering. I worked for the mod for the next 18 years in many places in this country, including Plymouth, Newcastle, Bath and Gosport. My marriage produced 3 boys, which gave me the perfect excuse to continue my sporting interests with them, playing football, camping trips, canoeing down the River Wye, Thames and on the beautiful Solent. I got divorced after 18 years and met and married the most amazing lady called Anne, my rat bag. Life took on a new meaning and went from a position of total despair to adulation overnight. I remember the first time I saw her, this beautiful face that seemed to light up like a beacon, a sight I will never forget. Just like the sight of Table Mountain at midnight. I made some excuse to say hello and chatted to her. To my amazement, she responded to Davy Boy's chat-up line. A couple of years later, we got married. What a transformation to my life, thanks to Anne. Sadly, some 18 years later, Anne died of breast cancer. She had 1 session of chemo and died a few days later. It was good for Anne as no long-term suffering, but devastating for me and her daughter Helen and friends. It was all so quick. After Anne's death, I could not be alone in the house, so I would go away. I travelled the world for up to 9 months a year. I then sold my lovely house in Lovedene and moved to Stubbington, where I've remained ever since. From my first encounter with folk dancing at school, I started learning ballroom dancing about the same time, at school evening classes, and have danced ever since. This last 15 years, I got into mo-jiving, which is modern rock and roll, great fun. I'd like to say thanks to all the lovely ladies over the years that I've had the pleasure of dancing with. Over the years, I've been drunk on 5 occasions. I can recall each time. Drink has never been part of my pleasurable needs. Believe me, it only takes 3 glasses of red wine or 2 of white for this idiot to be rolling on the floor, as my lovely neighbour Claire can confirm. I've never needed drink to give me Dutch courage in order to ask a lady to dance or feel happy like so many of my friends seem to. Anne could tell by looking at my eyes if I was getting high on my wine ration. She would look at me, move her head from side to side slowly. That was my signal to say, Davy boy, you've had enough. I have met and enjoyed the company of lots of lovely people over my lifetime in various parts of the world. My apprenticeship days, plus the time involved in woodcraft folk, also the windsurfing lads, and especially the kitesurfing boys for the last 15 years or so. It was a sheer delight to be part of the kiting group. I continued enjoying all of my sporting activities as it helped reduce the pain of losing Anne. Then some 15 years ago, I took up kitesurfing. The sport requires less equipment and is much easier to do. Thanks to Zoe and Bernie, who taught me this, I fell in love with the sport. I've been windsurfing, skiing, snowboarding, cycling and kiting in many parts of the world these last 22 years since Anne died, including France, USA, Canada, New Zealand, Caribbean, Brazil, Egypt, but I have to say, Hillhead is still my favourite location. I just love this place. Big thanks to all the kiters down at Hillhead who kept a watchful eye on this old fool. Listen to all the crap that came out of my mouth and written words on the Hillhead Kiters webpage. You kiters certainly made an old man very happy. Thanks again, my friends. When you live a long life, it's very hard to tell all the things I've done in a few minutes. How many? I could write a book, I think he has. And yes, Big Mark, I wrote a book on foiling, haha. I'm glad I lived when I did, although I endured a lot of hard times. I loved my poor but happy childhood and my teenage years, plus various parts of my life, except the second half of my first marriage. Great time spent with my boys, Nigel, Paul and Darren, running around football teams and canoeing activities with them, skiing and snowboarding. So many great memories. Sorry I won't be around to launch your kites anymore, lads. I will be up there with Colin, watching you all. tossers in vain in trying to reach my low standard of kiting that took so long to perfect. And finally, I'd like to finish with a poem. You can shed tears that he is gone, or you can smile because he has lived. You can close your eyes and wish that he will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that he has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see him, or it can be full of love that you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember him and only that he is gone, or you can cherish his memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, but you can do what we want, smile, open your eyes, love and go on. Bye bye, Davy boy.
Hey you.